Steve, first of all, obviously you're without a couple of players that started the game against Chelsea last week. What's the latest on Michael Wilson?
Well, unfortunately, it was a grade 2 tear like we thought, so it could be anything from 3 to 4 to 5 weeks, I would have thought, minimum, which unfortunately has happened to us too much from the very first day of the season with Snodgrass to Jelavic to Dawson to Diarmi. It's been, unfortunately, one thing after the other in that department. So it's part and parcel of it. We keep saying that, but you know, we could do with a little bit more luck in that department. You know, we've got 4 or 5 of them now with pretty ugly injuries, so we'll have to get on without it, unfortunately.
For different reasons, you're going to be missing Tom Huddleston as well for 4 games. How big a blow is that? Well, again, you know, I said in the press conference last weekend, I think we've all seen Tom Huddleston play here for 18 months, and there's certainly nothing malicious at all about him. However, when you look at the challenge, then you can't, you know, I think there was a frustration from Tom of what had gone on before that, and unfortunately he's got himself wrapped up in it and produced an awful challenge, which he deserved a red card, and of course on the back of that he's picked up 2 yellows, so it does make it 4 games. So when you're without big players like we are at the moment, then you know we're going to have to roll our sleeves up and do without the likes of Tom and Dawson. You know, all the people who we brought in to make us better, unfortunately, are not going to be there. So we have to show that resilience, which has made us what we are over the last couple of years. Is it more frustrating because just 6 days ago you sat in that chair and talking about the need to be able to put the same 11 players out game in, game out over Christmas, and clearly that's not
well, I think since we beat Crystal Palace, I think I've used 22, 23 players, which is certainly not me. You know, so we have been, unfortunately, whether it's 4 times we've been down to 10 men for one reason or another, and it's been a frustration because everybody would like to pick a settled team, because usually when you're picking a settled team, then results are going well for you, and then that hasn't quite happened. However, we've got 3 or 4 games coming up which will define our season. I'm absolutely convinced of that. We'll have to be without our big players, but that's what the Premier League is. It's unforgiving, and that's why we do have the squads, and I've got a big belief that the squad is big enough to cope. We're stretched to the limit at the moment, but we can't make that an excuse.
I was reading in one of the local papers as well this morning, speculation that Yannick Sagbo may be let go in January transfer window.
Well, I've got 16 players at the moment. I've got 16 players really that are fit, and he's one of them, fit and eligible for Saturday. So unless it's a ridiculous offer that comes in, then I'm not really inviting any offers for any player which we've got signed up. So at this particular moment, we need everybody we possibly can get to make sure that. So I can't really see it.
Swansea City, of course, this weekend. You've already touched upon the next 3 or 4 games going to define your season. They've lost the last 2. Is it an opportunity?
Well, we hope so. I mean, we all look at fixtures, and we're playing over the next. Although, let me say about Swansea, I think for any smallish club playing in the Premier League, the way they've gone about the business over the last few years has been, it could act as a role model for a lot of clubs like in the lower half of the divisions, or the way they've conducted themselves, the way they've played, the style of play they've done. They're an absolute credit, and they are a big example of that. You know, if Swansea can do it and be in the Premier League for 4, 5, 6 years, wherever it is, then all of us can. So it'll be a difficult game because they've got some good players, really good players. They've invested well. The centre forward is arguably as good as you're going to get in the Barclays Premier League. So it's a big game for us, but there's an opportunity. And then we go to Sunderland on Boxing Day, and we're back here against Leicester 2 days later. So it's a big opportunity to pick some points up, and if we can manage to win a couple of those games, then the whole season has a different complexion, and that's got to be our aim.
I suppose there's two ways of looking at it. One is you can't afford to lose these games, but how do you approach it? Because you say you need points, you need wins.
Well, it's a cup final if we really want to put it down to it. It's a big game for us, big opportunity for us, and we've got to play that way. We've got to get a result. It's quite simple as that. You know, we've had an awful run of fixtures with some awful injuries to go with it. We've got to forget about everything what's happened and make sure that we pick up a few points over Christmas to get our season back up and running, because it's amazing in October we were going great. We've had an awful November, awful, and December we've had some tough fixtures. It doesn't become any easier than playing at Everton and Chelsea away, so it's a big important time for us. But then again, there'll be a lot of clubs in the bottom half of the division exactly saying the same thing.
There's a final question, completely aside from this. A player you'll be thankful you don't have to plan for these days. Thierry Henry announced his retirement this week, and your reflections on his career?
Well, I remember when I first got in the Premier League, and I was at Birmingham at the time, and our first game was Arsenal away. And I remember Peter Reid ringing me and said, if you get a corner, kick it out and give them a goal kick, because the goalkeeper comes and catches it and throws to Henry, who nobody can catch. And how right he was. I mean, sometimes the word great is used too often, but he has been a great Premier League player and a great Arsenal player, and the way he's conducted himself and handled himself over the years, then he's been one of the great players. And I wish him a really good retirement. You know, it's never easy to hang up your boots, but he can be enormously proud of the standards he set, and for years he was the outstanding player in the Premier League for a long time. Great player. He's signed up for Sky, isn't he?
He has, yeah.
He's got your job.
Steve, moving back to Hull City, we spoke to Steve earlier on, Stephen Quinn, and he was very complimentary about yourself in that he said there's no panic yet, and rightly so, and you've been here before. That must be good that your players aren't panicking. They know that a win can change things dramatically.
Well, I think it's so close at the bottom. You know, there's 2, 3, 4 points separate 6 or 7 teams, and we know that we're capable of going winning a couple of games. So I don't think there's any need to panic just yet. It's been a frustrating season for us up to now, from one thing or the other, from losing our big players from the first day with Snodgrass. I think 5 times we've lost a lead in the last minute. You know, so our season could have been quite different to what it is at the moment. However, we haven't won enough games. We've drawn probably too many. But I'm still convinced, I'm sure Stephen is, that we've got enough quality in the squad to see it through, to make sure that we finish higher than we did last year. And that's got to be our aim. At the moment, we're finding it tough. But then again, with the run of fixtures we've had, particularly away from home, it's put all the onus on our home games. And we haven't just managed to pick up enough home points away from home. Our tally's very respectable, considering who we've played. So we've got to get it home right. We've played 9 out of the 16 games away from home. So it's about time that we put our home record straight, and we've got 2 games in a matter of a week at home. It'll be a different complexion if we can go and get something out of the game.
To turn these draws into wins, you need goals, and goals have been hard to come by, haven't they?
Yeah. Well, since Jelavic twisted his knee, up until that game, I think we had scored 13 goals, in and amongst the best goal scorers in the league. We'd scored 2, 4, 5 times. Since Jelavic came out, it's been a bit of a difficulty, but you know, if I took the big players out of, we've seen, for instance, a great club like Liverpool lose its centre forward, and all of a sudden you find it difficult, even at a big, huge club like what they've got. So when you lose your big players at this level, and you can point at things like Jelavic, and to be fair to him, he's done everything he can to be back in 4 or 5 weeks. But I would envisage that it's going to be another 4 or 5 weeks before we really see him back to his best again, because it does take time. So let's hope that can happen.
So as a striker, what you'd be after in January?
Not really. I'm very happy with Jelavic as long as they're fit and healthy. I mean, you know, the one thing is what doesn't fix anything is just, can we go and buy another player? That would be easy. It's not that easy. I'm very happy with Sagbo, Aluko, Jelavic and Hernandez. You know, Jelavic and Hernandez haven't played together really since that Arsenal game, and before that I think they'd got 7 or 8 goals between them. So we know that they've both got it, and let's hope as I said, over this Christmas run, we can recapture that form.
And finally, being a professional sportsman at Christmas.
Ex-professional foot. He's still involved, yeah.
It's just part of the job for us as well, isn't it?
It's part of the job for you guys. That's why I'm having a press conference on Christmas morning. Test you. No, it's you get used to it, you know. But let's be fair, we're very fortunate in the job we do, to be a professional footballer, especially at this time, and what goes with it. Then sometimes there's a few sacrifices, and Christmas is one of them. I'm a big believer, though, maybe not Christmas time, but we should have a break. There should be a break, like all the other clubs in Europe have a break. I would think it would benefit the game in general. However, it's non-stop in our country, and that's how difficult it is for everybody to adapt to. It's to play 4 games in 8 days is ridiculous, really. But we'll manage it, and we'll do it like we always do.
The light-hearted ones are finished. Have you done your Christmas shopping?
I have done my Christmas shopping. It took me exactly 4 minutes yesterday afternoon. Thankfully, my wife does it all. Thankfully.
Brilliant. Cheers for that.
Sorry. I have just one question. I'm Mark. I work for the French TV, Canal Plus.
Canal Plus. I wonder what you're going to ask me. And what happens if I say I've got no comment on Ben Arthur? That would be a wasted journey for you, wouldn't it?
Yeah, we just try to know what happened exactly with Ben Arthur. When you say, when you said a few days ago that he didn't deserve to be in the team, what did you mean exactly? Why?
Why? Exactly what I said to you. He didn't deserve to be on the team on merit. And, you know, it's my job to pick a team which I think will win us the game on the Saturday. So, you know, all this reported big bust-up and all the rest of it, I think yous want to make that story. I've said to Ben Arthur, unfortunately, I wasn't going to accept a performance like I seen from him when we played against Manchester. And it's up to him to force himself way back into the squad. And that's the way it is. And if he decides to stay in France, then that's up to him. There's only 10 days or something before the window opens. But I think it's fair to say he's probably played his last game for Hull.
And could you say now that it was maybe a mistake to convince him to come in Hull a few months ago?
Sometimes transfers don't work, especially when it's a loan deal. You know, that sometimes they don't. Sometimes they can be the best thing for both player and club. Unfortunately, it hasn't worked out. So I wish him the best of luck. I hope he goes on to have the career which his talent deserves. And that's all really I've got to say on the matter.